So I'm not going to spend a lot of time today talking about the virus and the vaccine and all that shit because quite honestly, it gets pretty fucking boring. But I will say that obviously through the last couple of days, lots of people have reached out, had questions, different types of communication. I want to point out that the polls that I made on Monday, they were not intended to encourage people one way or the other. What I will say is that if you reach out to me, if you're nasty and you're just a shitty person, I'm going to fucking call you out. This is not something I have a problem with. Now, I'm not going to use your name. I'm not going to sit here and try to degrade you and beat you down, but I'm certainly going to talk about the nasty shit you say. And for me, luckily, this is my platform, and I'll do that. But I think it's really bad when people sit here and try to tell everybody else what to do. I don't think that there's enough educated people out there that have the knowledge to tell others what they should and should not do. I've sat here and only encouraged people to educate themselves. I've said why I may not do something, and I've not told anybody else what they should or should not do, only that they should educate themselves and get healthy. I think people should take care of themselves. I think people should eat healthy. I think people should exercise. Okay. But I want to prove to you guys that I do practice what I preach. And I'll tell you that I got a text message yesterday from my son. I was at a baseball game. I got a text message from Braxton. And he asks me, I'm going to paraphrase a lot of this stuff, but he says, "Hey, Dad, I have a question for you. I've been thinking about getting the vaccine, and I wanted to know your thoughts on it." So my response to him was pretty much what I've said on here. Getting the vaccine doesn't stop you from contracting the virus, and it doesn't stop you from spreading the virus. It doesn't stop you from getting sick from the virus, and it doesn't stop you from dying from the virus. Him being 18, in good health, he doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs, doesn't smoke. I don't think he's a high-risk category, and that's what I told him. I said, I don't think you fall into that category. But here's what I said, and I said this to my own son. I said, you are an adult. You are 18, and if you choose to get the vaccine, and you think that's the best thing for you to do, then that's what you should do. He asked my opinion on why he should or should not get it. I gave him only some basic information, and I didn't go into any scientific data as far as numbers and what's in the vaccine and all this other stuff. But he did call me today, and he had some more questions on it. Went through the same exact thing with him, and I told him that I don't think the math adds up for him. Now, he doesn't have any pre-existing conditions. If he was overweight or had some other issues, then that might be a consideration. But I just don't think that he's a candidate for it or would need it. He's worried because he starts college next week and he's going to be around everybody on a campus, and he's thinking, should he get it? For me, I don't think that he should. He has been in direct contact with other people who have had COVID and did not get sick. So the overwhelming odds are that he actually had it at some point in the last 18 months, recovered from it, didn't even know he had it, was totally fine, and now he has antibodies built up in his system. He has an immune system. More than likely, that's what's occurred, and that's a good chance of what's going to happen with everybody else. The only thing I presented to him was that he look at the Open VAERS website, and he sees what the vaccine reporting database is showing for the different effects and the different things that have happened as a result of it. So, I just encourage people to educate themselves. It's not your job to tell other people what they should or should not do. If someone asks me a very direct question about my opinion, I will provide it. However, I'm not going to tell somebody they should or should not get the vaccine. That's totally up to them. But there is data out there both ways. And I told, as I told Braxton today, that 6 months from now there might be something that comes out. There might be some data that comes out that changes my mind, that says hey, I think it's okay to go ahead and get the vaccine now. I think that the numbers add up. I think that it is enough. The last thing I'm going to say on this is that, they're now talking about, first off, the Delta variant is not the first variant of the virus. Remember, because obviously, I think a lot of it got squashed simply because Trump was calling this the Chinese virus or the Wuhan virus. And of course, people were, talking about racism and bigotry and all the other stuff. But then all of a sudden, there became the UK variant and then the South African variant. Somehow it wasn't racist or bigoted to reference a variant that came from the UK or from South Africa, but it was apparently racist and bigoted to call it the Chinese virus. So now we have Delta. I'm not sure its similarities to these other variants that they spoke of, but we also have what's emerging apparently is called Lambda. Like, if you guys, only 80s kids are going to remember this, 70s, 80s kids are going to know this. There's a movie called Revenge of the Nerds, and the fraternity that the nerds join is called Lambda, Lambda, Lambda. So that's the name is just the Lambda variant. That's how you pronounce it. And apparently it's pretty potent. It's pretty strong. Apparently the transmission rate of it is much higher than even the original. However, the vaccine doesn't work against it. They're showing that the vaccine has no effect whatsoever on the Lambda variant. It makes no difference whether you have it or not, and as far as the vaccine goes. And if you do get the Lambda variant, you're going to you would get just as sick as if you did not have. Again, I'm not a scientist. I can imagine how they go about doing these kinds of tests and figuring things like that out, but I'm not going to go into that here because I just don't want to spread bad information like that. But anyway, all in that. Something that's been brought up quite a bit, and obviously it's been on the news a lot, that I've been talking to a lot of my friends about. I actually had a conversation on this and on someone else's Facebook page. It was in regards to our withdrawal from Afghanistan. Now, I think there's some things that are important to be acknowledged here, is that we didn't just decide one day to leave. Actually, these things were actually set in motion last year, I believe last April, by President Trump. He actually announced that we were going to start drawing down the 25,000 troops that were there. So that's been happening over the last 14 months, has actually been a troop drawdown. What occurred was Biden, we had a small security force there. And what was being done was, over the last, say, we'll just say 15 years, because you can't really say 20 years, but we'll call it 15 years. The United States has been involved in helping the Afghan army build itself up to be self-sustaining, to help build the government up to be self-sustaining. What we have spent the last 15 years doing is helping train the Afghan army so that they can defend themselves. We sent over hundreds of billions of dollars worth of equipment so that the Afghan army would have the supplies necessary to be an effective army, so to speak. This was done through DoD budgets and spending and purchasing from around the world. So what was occurring over the last 14 months was, with the drawdown of the 25,000 troops, there was a transition of, if you go into a base somewhere, you may have, say, 75% American troops versus 25% Afghan troops. With that drawdown, what they've been doing is building up the army and making sure that it's more like 75% Afghan troops and 25% American troops. eventually wanting to get to the point of removing all American troops out of these bases from around the country. Well, what Biden did was say unilaterally, we're removing everybody all at once. And he announced it to the fucking world. So, of course, hey, the Taliban's got Twitter, so of course they can find out about it. Apparently, it's okay to have the leader of a terrorist regime on Twitter, but not a president of the United States. It's kind of fucked up, but anyway, what had happened is they drew all these people out. They drew all the Americans out, and of course, the Taliban knew when it was happening, and so boom, they immediately rushed in and they seized all of these American assets. And you're talking about MRAPs, you're talking about M40s, you're talking about ARs, you're talking about tanks, you're talking about drones. Hundreds of millions of dollars of U.S. military assets were left on the ground. Now, two things were asked. That there's two questions that continually get asked. One, why did we not remove everything beforehand? And two, second one, why didn't we just destroy everything? So, I'm going to answer the first one. The reason we didn't just move everything is because we sent it over there for the Afghan people. When the American troops left, the Afghan army basically went into full rebellion, and the people left. They laid down their guns, they laid down their body armor, and they left. They ran away. They weren't, and I guess that's the sad part. They don't even want to fucking die for their own country, which kind of solidifies the argument of some other people, is to say, if these motherfuckers don't want to die for their own country, why are we over there doing that? Well, it is for the betterment of the world. You don't want a regime like the Taliban in charge, because it does affect the rest of the world. And even though the people within that country, and this is not saying everybody within the country, this is saying some people within the country, I can say that firmly that there's probably a larger majority of Americans that are willing to die for this country than there are a percentage of Afghanis that are willing to die for theirs. I would say that our number's probably close to somewhere between 65 and 70% of Americans are willing to die in support of our country, where you probably have a country like Afghanistan where their culture and their environment's not like ours. And they're probably in the 20 to 30% range of people that are willing to die. So now you're going to have 60 to 70% of the people that were in the army, they're not willing to die for their fucking country, and they lay down their shit and they run away. So all of a sudden, all these things that we brought over there for the Afghanis to use is open for everybody. We didn't leave a drone there because we were using it and it was just left there. We had given it to the Afghans so that they could use it in their own defense. So that's why none of that stuff was taken. Now, the other side of that is the logistics behind if we actually had decided to take these items. You don't just go in and pick up a tank and move it. I'm sure just as recently as COVID here in the United States, when they were showing the deployment of the National Guard to some of these cities during the lockdowns last year, you saw trains. You saw trains going by with hundreds of pieces of equipment on them. The videos were all over the internet. They went viral. Well, you're in the middle of the fucking desert. They don't have train tracks out there. So they'd have to send in trucks. And you got to send in big fucking trucks. Or you drive those assets to a central location and you get them out of there. Well, how did all this shit get there? It came in on planes and trucks. It didn't come in on fucking ships. It's not a seaport in Kabul. It's an airport. All the shit that came into Afghanistan was flown in. It was flown in and driven in. So you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of vehicles that have to go in and pick this shit up and get it out of there. Some of it could be flown out, but very little. But you still have to get this shit to an airport somewhere where a C-17 has to fly this shit out. You're talking about, even if you brought in the largest, was it called the Zeus or something like that, the largest plane in the world, that could probably still only fly maybe 1 or 2 tanks out at a time. Maybe throw in an MRAP, things like that. It would be a massive logistics undertaking, okay, just to get it out of there. But then again, you just don't send the trucks in there. You have to send in an armed force to securely transport those trucks, which means you have to have bases, which means you have to have people come in and set up living conditions in camps. It means you got to bring in other logistics like food, fuel, water. You don't literally just go in there and pick the shit up and walk away one day. You're in the middle of a fucking desert. So it takes time. Yeah, they probably could have started doing that a long time ago if we knew that this was going to happen. But of course, Biden's a fucking retard, and this is what happens. This is what occurs when you got somebody like him in control. So that's why we didn't just take everything out of there. Okay? So the second question is, why didn't we destroy it? Well, the first question kind of answers that. We weren't just running away from it. It was actually being left there for the Afghans. They're the ones that abandoned it. We had already walked away. We'd given it to them. And we were moving away from it already. They were the ones that were there guarding it, standing around it, and ran away from it. Now, I tell everybody that what they should watch is a movie called Lord of War. It's a very true, very real story that happened after the fall of the communism in Russia, and I mean that's the basis of a lot of it. But the guy's a gun runner. It's Nicolas Cage, and he plays a gun runner. But was a real individual, and in the very beginning they talk about the cost of transporting military assets out of somewhere. Okay, so they just don't. It costs more to get it out. The cost involved is just, it outweighs anything else. So the destruction of it would be the only other option. Well, unfortunately, you don't just get to blow shit up. You're on foreign soil. There are rules of engagement. There are laws that govern that kind of thing. And you don't just get to blow up every other fucking thing out there. You don't get to just throw a grenade inside of something and blow it up and walk away. Those are considered hostile acts, and you potentially you can face international criminal charges as well as U.S. federal charges if you're an American citizen that does that kind of stuff. And then, the America gets in trouble, sanctions, whatever. And it becomes a very bad scenario. So you can't just walk in and start destroying all these assets. There's rules and codes and regulations that govern all of that stuff. I'm sure I don't know every little thing about it, but there's more than likely a way that these things, if they're being decommissioned, they have to be transported in a certain way, they have to be documented in a certain way, and they have to be stored in a certain way, and only certain places can go and actually do all this other stuff. There's a lot of fucking red tape, and it takes a lot of time, and it's just not going to happen. The other side is, okay, decommission it. Why didn't we go in and actually just make it where the shit doesn't work? That goes back to the first answer. It takes logistics. If you're sending technicians, you're not just sending one person in to take apart a tank, an MRAP. You're not sending one person in to just take these things apart so it doesn't work anymore. I mean, you're not going to have somebody disassemble an entire engine so that way, you got somebody in the middle of the desert can't reassemble it. They're not going to spend that amount of time. What you would do is you would send them in. They would take out the sensitive data. Anything that is classified top secret, they would remove those things. If there's things like radar, they might remove those things. But you're still talking about a couple days worth of time. You're still talking about sending a couple people over there. And if you got multiple AMRAPs, again, you're talking about setting up you're setting up camps, which require logistics, transportation, food, water, fuel. It takes a lot. And there is somebody much smarter than you and I that sat in a room somewhere and established that it cost more to do all of this than to just leave the shit there. And I guarantee you they factored in all of the backlash. They factored in the part about the Taliban taking it. They factored in the way it was going to make America look on the stage. I guarantee all of that stuff was factored in. There is somebody that put a monetary value to all of that stuff. How it was going to affect this, and this. How if you did one thing, it was going to affect the ability to get this passed down the road, or how it would affect this policy over here. I promise you that before they made that decision, somebody in a room, maybe a team of somebody's in a room, sat down and they came up with all of these answers. Whether or not our benevolent leader, now almost trying to be like a fucking dictator, listened to any of that or not, who knows? We won't ever see that information. That's not stuff that will ever make it out. It's classified, top secret. May come out in 30 or 50 years. Maybe if Biden actually makes it through this presidency and he's able to actually write a memoir, we might find out about it at that time. But until then, we're not going to know why a lot of this little shit was done. So it's a really tough, really shitty situation. I've got a lot of friends that are veterans that went out, that they dealt with this stuff, that they spent time over there. And it sucks because it almost feels as if it was for nothing. But I will assure you as an American citizen that all the sacrifice and the things that all of my friends and all of the other veterans out there did, it's not in vain. The world is a better, safer place today because of the things that you guys did. Don't ever for one moment doubt the benefit that the world received because of the things you guys did. History is not being unwritten because of this. But there's definitely going to come another time. Look, Afghanistan has just been one of those places. The Soviets tried doing it again. You can watch that. It's been part of Lord of War. It's in many other movies where, the Soviets tried to come in Afghanistan. They tried the nation build and they failed. And the Soviets did the same fucking thing. A lot of the original bombs and weapons that were being used against the Americans were Soviet-era things that were left by the Soviets. So, but of course, there was the CIA that ended up arming bin Laden to fight the Soviets and things like that. But when the Soviets left, it's not like an entire army had all U.S. assets. The Soviets ended up leaving tanks and trucks and guns. That's why AK-47s are so heavily used over there to this day. So it's just one of those places in the world that culturally, the overwhelming majority of people aren't wanting democracy. The overwhelming majority of people aren't willing to die for their country. And that's what democracy requires. Democracy does require sacrifice. The ability to choose requires you and people around you to be willing to sacrifice and die. I mean, we talk about whistleblowers, for example. I mean, it's not life and death, unless you're in a movie and it sounds like a big conspiracy kind of thing. But in order to have the free flow of information and to have the freedom, to have the democracy and open and transparency, you have to have people willing to risk and sacrifice their own freedoms. Edward Snowden is a prime example. He risked his freedom. The guy's living in an embassy in Russia right now, hasn't left in how many years, and he did all of this. He did that because he believed that what was being collected and the things that were being done under the Obama administration and the collection of data through the NSA, he believed it to be wrong. He risked his freedom to preserve the values of our country. Again, I'm not citing right or wrong here. I'm simply citing that he believed that he was willing to sacrifice himself for the benefit of many others. So we as a nation have decided a long time ago that we will sacrifice. We will come together and we will sacrifice either personally or communally for the betterment of our country. And so many of our troops, so many of our veterans went over there and they sacrificed. And you guys did make a better world. You made things better for us as Americans and so many other countries in the world. And so I want to say thank you to all the veterans, all the service members, things like that. Which makes me think about something. Is I actually had an idea. I've got several. Several. I've got numerous amounts of friends that were in the armed services. Several now goes to several friends that were special forces. And what I will be doing is I will be having what I term is just warrior episodes, where every so often I will bring on one of these individuals, just a regular everyday human being now, but bring them on, and some of them are willing to talk about their service and the things and the things they saw and the time that they were over there. And, I think that would be really enlightening for a lot of people, so they understand that it's not just go over there, set up shop, shoot some guns, capture some people, and then walk away. There's everyday stresses of life that you have to deal with. You're walking away from friends and family, and you're over there worried about this. You got people that are being deployed while, men, they're being deployed while their wives, were pregnant here, and they have to see their children being born via, cameras and videos and Skype and everything else. And there's a lot, and these people deal with a lot of different things. And you take what you deal with on a daily basis and you multiply that by 3, and then have somebody shooting a fucking gun at you. So it's kind of intense, but I think it'd be really fun to highlight some of these guys and their service and bring them on so we can show some appreciation for the things they've done. Fortunately, we don't live in a time like my uncle when he was coming home from Vietnam, where he was being, him and his friends and people like him were all being spit on and looked down upon and talked shit to because of the things that they did for their country. They didn't necessarily agree with it. They signed up. A lot of them were drafted. But they did the things that they were told to do, and they may regret some of it, but that's unfortunately what is required sometimes in war. And, I have a lot of friends that they don't necessarily agree with the things that they were told to do over there, and they aren't happy about the things they were told to do. But overwhelmingly, I will tell you that everybody in the service that I've talked to, they are proud of the service that they performed. They're proud of the things that they did over there. They were happy to help and meet and interact with the locals. So I think we live in a time that's really cool where we actually show appreciation for our servicemen and women. I think it's really awesome. So I will be doing that. Like I said, it's called, they have warrior episodes. But anyway, something I had to tell you, I've been seeing these videos on, I tell you what, algorithms are neat. You go on TikTok, right? And you watch a video of something. The next thing you know, you're getting similar type videos of that same thing. You don't even have to like the picture or follow the person. They'll come up in your feed. And that's kind of what's really cool about TikTok is you get things in your feed that you don't even follow. It's just a lot, and it's the For You page. You get suggestions in there. So it's really neat to see it. And I got to tell you, I am fascinated by women who play instruments. Not because, oh my God, women can actually play instruments. No, it's nothing like that. I think it's sexy as can be to watch a woman play an instrument, particularly the drums or the guitar. Because honestly, these are traditionally male-dominated environments, and that you see, at least as far as like large bands, things like that. I am actually in September 21st. One of my favorite bands going to see here in Houston, a band called In This Moment. It's a female-led band. There's a couple other females in the band, and I tell you what, I fucking love them, man. This woman in there, she sings so fucking amazing. She's got one of those voices that I love, that she can actually sing, and then she can just fucking wail. She can scream so goddamn hard, but she could sing really well, and so I really enjoy watching her. She has a song called song called "Whore." She has another song that I think is really cool. It's called "Sex Metal Barbie." Pretty cool song. Anyway, you guys should check them out. In This Moment is the name of the band. Anyway, I watch on TikTok. I happen to watch this one lady. I forget her name. I really forgot her name. She's kind of like she's a little bit of an Asian look to her, and she's playing the fucking guitar. And I watched her story because she was talking about how she's sober. She used to be a big drinker. She's been sober for like 14 years or something like that. And so that's what actually got me watching what she was doing. And she can just fucking rip. She's so awesome. And I guess because I ended up watching her videos, it started bringing up other females that played instruments. And I guess if a video just comes up and you're not interested and you just kind of swipe it on, it's not going to bring. So like at least once a day now, if I open up that app, I'll see like a female playing like the drums or the guitar. And I got to tell you, I think that's so fucking sexy. It kind of makes me understand why. I will say that my daughter's mom cheated on me. The guy that she moved into my house as soon as I moved out, he was actually a drummer. It makes me kind of understand it now. So yeah, it's kind of fucking, I thought about that. I was like, makes total sense. And now I understand it. But, there's another guy on there though. He does, he's a British guy, and he uses it's not a traditional, drum set. It's like a digital drum set where it's got the cymbals and the drum, pads and everything. But it's not like a real like a drum or a cymbal. It sends an electrical signal when he hits them with the drumsticks, and it replicates the sound of the drum. So he's always sitting outside. And I'm sure many of you have seen this. He's sitting outside of his house in his driveway with the pasture in the back. He's British, like I said, and he does hardcore, as they call it, drops. And he's doing the drumming and everything. But what he does is he filters in memes. And there's this one where it's an MMA fight, and there's this guy who stands up and he's like, twist his dick! Twist his fucking dick off! And there's just this, there's like, he's just standing. I don't know if it was planned, but the guy's standing up and he's just screaming this in the crowd, and there's a guy in front of him recording it like this, and it's getting himself and the guy behind him. He's like, twist his dick! I mean, it's just such an absurd thing to do. But anyway, he builds it into the breakdown on the drum. So he's like, dun, 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 and you just hear this. You hear the meme in it and everything. Anyway, it's kind of funny. You guys should find it. And then I follow this other guy. I don't know what band he's in, but he's a drummer as well, and he just, man, he's fucking working his ass off playing. It's amazing. But there's two kids. There's two little kids. One is a little British girl, and one's a little boy from, I think he's from Dallas. They both play the drums. The girl's so cute. She got her fucking pigtails and everything. Her hair's all poofed up and everything. she really plays up the little girly thing with like the unicorns and shit on her shirt. But it's so fucking awesome because when she goes in there and starts playing the drums, she's playing like Metallica and Slipknot and Avenged Sevenfold and things like that. So it's really badass. But there's also a video where her dad, he's a guitar, he plays guitar, and so ever since she was like an infant, they've been playing together. And so he's the one who taught her how to play, and now she just plays the drums all on her own. And they put the videos up there on Instagram and TikTok. And this little boy, he's got a big drum sponsor. Like I said, I think he's in Dallas, something like that. But he's got a huge drum sponsor, and he plays all his shit too. And they're both awesome. Like watching kids do that shit it blows my mind. It's so cool. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for today. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank everybody for everything y'all have done for me. I appreciate it. Huge shout out to my friends, Fred and Samantha, for taking me to the Astros game. Samantha had a friend in town, one of her childhood friends from back in Pennsylvania. She came into town this weekend, and so I guess the girl's name is Carrie, and she likes to go to baseball games, and she's a big Yankees fan, so of course we all gave her shit for it. She wore a fucking Yankees hat to the Astros game. But her goal is to go to every ballpark in the country, and so going to Minute Maid Park last night was her 8th ballpark that she's ever been to. And so they bought tickets and everything, and they invited me out and took me out there yesterday, and it was $1 hot dog night. I had 4 hot dogs, so that was fucking cool. I get to act like a baller, because normally those hot dogs are like $6 a piece. So we bought 10 hot dogs, and I was like, yeah, 10 hot dogs. Because, shit, why not, right? I ate 4. It was kind of funny. I ate 4, Fred ate 3, Sam ate 2, and Carrie ate 1. So anyway, we had a good time. It was a really good time. So I want to say thank you to them for bringing me out to that ball game. I actually went to opening day. Kind of funny. I didn't even know where we were sitting. We sat in the Crawford boxes. Crawford boxes are pretty much, if you guys look at Minute Maid Park, it's the rows of seats. There's 4 sections that are directly above the outfield scoreboard. And that's where like 90% of all home runs hit in Minute Maid Park are in that area. So opening day, I had seats in section 101, row 1. Yesterday we sat in section 101, row 2. So that was pretty cool. I haven't gone to a lot of games this year. Not been very happy with the Astros. Not for the way they're playing. I'm just not. I'm not behind. Look, if you guys tune into my show here, you pretty much have an idea of what I may talk about. It could be talking about my past, it could be talking about politics or whatever, or just talking shit. You guys have an idea, but that's what you're tuning in for, is to really listen to me or my friends talk. But when you watch a sporting event, I don't want to fucking hear about any other bullshit going on. I don't want to hear any politics from one side or the other. I don't want to hear any of that other bullshit. I just want to watch the fucking game. And the Astros really disappointed me. A lot of honestly, Major League Baseball in general really disappointed me. Not surprised that the NBA or the NFL did what they did, especially the NBA. Something like 70% of all of their revenue comes from China. So I'm not fucking surprised that they did what they did. But I was very surprised and disappointed in the MLB. So I canceled my season tickets last year. I had actually I'd put a deposit in on the diamond seats behind home plate. It was going to be like in row 7. And I got all that back when they started their bullshit last year. Fucking canceled everything. So went to like I said, went to opening day, which was cool. Left early. It was still only a couple months after my father's passing. And, of course, the first thing they fucking do on opening day is they show a series of pictures of long-standing Astros fans who died from COVID. In like 2020, they showed all these people. It was like 40 or 50 people, and they're showing these people. And I'm literally opening day. It's supposed to be a fun day. Supposed to be out there having a good time. And I'm bawling my fucking eyes out. Row 1, section 101 in the Crawford boxes. I was waiting for the cameras to, just flash over on me, and I was like, fuck this. I think we stayed for like 4 innings and ended up leaving. It sucks too because it was a beautiful day. It was really nice outside. They had the roof open. It just sucked. It just sucked being there, and I just didn't want to be there. So ended up leaving, but had a really good time last night. I want to say thank you to Fred and Sam and Carrie, for inviting me to come along. It was really enjoyable. It was funny though, when I went on opening day, back in April. That's my birthday present to myself. Opening day is always right around my birthday, within like a couple days of my birthday. Usually the home opener is within a couple days of my birthday. And so that's always for the past, since I've been home, but even before that, opening day baseball was always my gift to myself. Like that's all I would always buy, opening day tickets for myself. I had season tickets forever, but anyway, the day we went for opening day, they made us put on surgical masks. You couldn't just wear a regular mask to go in. You had to actually put on surgical mask, like to go in there. Like it was the dumbest fucking thing. Like you had to put the mask on to go in, but you could, like the moment you got in there, you just take it off. And this Governor Abbott hadn't signed into law and reversed the mask mandates and all that shit. So you still had to do it. Well, now yesterday, nothing. I mean, of course, some employees here and there had them on. It's no big deal. But they didn't say a word to us. We walked in. Everybody's walking around. And you got to think about it. These games have been going on for how fucking long now? I mean, they play 163, 164 games a year. And, half of those are at home. And, I mean, last night the stadium was about halfway empty. But you still got to figure there's probably still between 15 and 20,000 people at a game on an average night. On a big night, like a Friday night when maybe the Yankees or the Dodgers or somebody like that are in town. Well, not really Dodgers because we play them. They're in the National League, but say the Angels are in town or something like that. Is there something? Alexa or Siri wanted to start talking to me. So anyway, would you like to chat with an Alexa prize social bot? Stop. Oh man, I'm sorry. So it was just funny walking around there last night that, you've got all these people, you got all these games going on, and you don't have this massive spike. And, Fred, of course, he's like, man, this is the first time I've been to a super spreader event. I've been to a whole lot of them and never had any issues. I tell you what, it's like go and float the river. We're going to go float the river this weekend. I went a weekend, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And I tell you, there's like 100,000 people out there floating this fucking river. I mean, you're drinking and singing and splashing around and having a good time. And it's like, you don't hear about these spikes. So it was kind of funny, but anyway. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you all very much. I'm going to get going. I'm going to go to the gym tonight, go work out some frustration, some anger, some anxiety, get it out of my system, go have some fun. I think today's a squat day, maybe some deadlifts. We'll see. Everything's feeling good. I got to do some work on my chest a little bit today too. It's Wednesday. The chest machines will probably be empty, so I'll go use a lot of that stuff. But anyway, thank you all very much. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all very soon.